Peter Quillin, how are you, my man?
Hey, doing, Ray? I'm sorry for having you wait so long. How you
No,
doing
it's all
today?
good, man. How are you, my friend? How's
And I'm
everything?
blessed, man. Under these circumstances, I'm good and I'm blessed. I'm thankful.
Well, Peter, let's talk about you are in New York, correct?
I'm in New Jersey.
You're in New Jersey, okay, but you're very close to New York. I know that it is being infected, obviously, with this horrific disease that's the coronavirus. Can you tell us, first of all, how are you? How's your family? And do you know of anyone that's been affected by the coronavirus?
Well, in my hometown of Grand Rapids, Michigan, I think two or three people I've known, and somebody at my wife's job has died because of the coronavirus. But other than that, me and my family is good. We at our house. We've been quarantined for I don't know how many days now. It's definitely over 15.
Yeah.
Being responsible with that, but it taught me a lot about, what my place is with my family, because, you got to worry, people worrying right now and they kind of scared about, I've been following this thing for a long time. And, I think we should take record of what happened to China and also what happened to Italy and then, wait for that wave to hit us as well. So I think just, being quarantined with somebody that you love, being intimate with the people, being close, knowing who people are in contact with. I think that's important right now. It's hard because, I'm very fortunate. I got a situation where it's like, my bills is going to be good no matter what. But it's a lot of people out there that's not able to, have money to eat. They got to worry about their money and they got to worry about, their bills. That's not going to stop coming in, It's very trying a hard time. I would tell people not to fear though, but have faith in God.
Well, let's hope that this, subsides over, the next few months. Peter, I know that not only are we dealing with the coronavirus, but also, we had the passing of a legend, someone that you know very well from your hometown in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Incidentally, you actually played him in the movie Bleed for This, the passing of the Black Mamba, the original Black Mamba in Roger Mayweather. What went through your mind when you heard of the passing of Roger and how much he meant to you?
Well, he meant he's a big inspiration to many people from Grand Rapids, Michigan. The whole Mayweather family there, they got their stake there and what they do for, minority children like me growing up thinking like, I was going to work at a factory. Didn't even know what my future would be, but, that family gave us a lot of hope. And for me to be able to play him in a movie, it's kind of blew my mind to say that I can, I did a movie. I started off as a boxer, not knowing where I would go to becoming a world champion to, being able to do a movie and play somebody that's a legend in my city. And I feel like, we all forget sometimes that we're going to die one day. We all going to meet the grave. And I think sometimes when people die that's close and somebody that impacted us in a certain way, I think we should ask ourselves where we stand at with God, where we stand with God's judgment. I think that's more important than anything. And, praying for a person's family when they lose somebody like that, because it definitely impacted, Floyd Mayweather from the passing of his baby's mom. And, I think I got to pray more for that family and make sure everything is good.
Yeah, well, we definitely will honor the Black Mamba, Roger Mayweather with, as we go ahead and hopefully, we see fighters get back inside the ring. Peter, how are you feeling physically, moving forward? I know that you had two fights last year. You had a heck of a battle with Pero Angulo that was just a war. It's September in Lancaster, but before all this happened with the coronavirus, were there plans for you to return, in a certain month, or were you getting, what was the status for Peter Quillin prior to the coronavirus?
Well, I was definitely looking at, clear my name up with the loss with Angulo and move forward with another rough fight to see if I belong in this sport for any time longer. I think at a point where you sit around and box for such a long time and that's all you know how to do, I think the best thing you should do is to look about other stories about people that was in a similar situation. And I get to see a lot of greats that get to perform on their own merit and retire. And everybody got a different story. But my story is just to be able to get closure with myself and saying what I started to finish off like a strong fighter and, maybe ride into the sun soon. who knows? You know, I got 3 kids now, and you know, I had to learn a lot of valuable things in life that I think people forget to talk about and they forget to share light on. Because you know, if you're a parent yourself, then you know how hard it is to be a father and being there for your family and having a rough job where, you know, I got to explain this to my child. You know, and you know, sometimes people forget that, you know, I'm a human being at the end of the day. And you know, I want to have a great conversation with my kids one day, talk about my moments in boxing, and you know, how I was there and what parts of their life they changed me as a man. I think that's more important than anything.
Well, you know what, Peter, you get a lot of, acclaim and support from fans all over the world. One of them happens to be Damian Lillard, who's actually watching us here on Instagram Live from the Portland Trail Blazers. How good does that make you feel when, you get the respect from fight fans around the world? Because the one thing about you is that you don't shy away from, challenges whatsoever, whether you go ahead and, he's King Kong or not. I mean, you always come ready to go and ready to perform at a high level.
Well, you know, I think the most part about boxing is it's a thing that relates to life, and you know, in a boxer's life, we always have drama that we must overcome. And I think for me as a fighter, you got to learn about your perspective about why you fight, why you do it, who you're doing it for, and I think that's more important than anything, you know. And I think different levels in your life, you go through different things, different emotions. And I think what I'm trying to learn now is to try to collab my emotion with my thought more so, and not just basing everything that I do, my decision, off emotion alone or too much thought. I try to collab both of them together to make a more powerful decision. So I think boxing right now for me is just like, you know, is part of me. It's a big part of me, but also it's not a part that describes everything about me besides when I step in the ring and, I get to fight in a way that people get to see what I'm fighting with.
Can you go into detail, because you became a world champion almost 8 years ago at Barclays Center in Brooklyn? You were in you're probably your mid-20s, or, you were probably in your 20s, which still as a young man, to be able to be the world champion, to make the kind of money that you were making, that's not easy to handle with all the different things that are around you. How did you balance that? How much did you learn from having success so early in your professional career?
Well, I think it's kind of hard to describe it because unless you broke, you come from nothing. And, the only thing you know is like ignorance. You know what I mean? That's what I grew up with my whole life. And to be in different circles around different people and to know how to be around those people and, to be welcome into the room. That's all and most importantly, to keep your soul is very important to me. I'm a very spiritual man. I believe in God, and I believe that I should be one with God. And it's hard to do that when, people's imaginations and people's dreams, become, it becomes your reality sometimes. And I think that's hard to, have that type of fight. And I think, throughout my career, I had to learn more stuff about who I am and the fighter that I am, that the reason why I wanted to perform the way I wanted to perform and why I wanted to do it pertaining back to myself, it was probably the best thing I had to learn. Because overall, when you lose, what I had to learn, that my worst fear was actually losing people from being around me that I thought was supporters, and those supporters was actually like family members. And when I see they can flip sides on you, it's like, who can you put trust in? So
wait a minute. You're telling me, Peter, that when you lost, because that was going to be my next point, when you lost, you had family members around you, and then they kind of went by the wayside when you lost that fight to Daniel Jacobs? Is that what you're telling me?
I mean, it was starting. I started to see darkness before I started to had to see a therapist because of, these thoughts that I was having and I was struggling with. That it was kind of, when a person, when they say they fighting demons and stuff, I wouldn't make it seem so spiritual. To the point is but I had a very complicated life. I was living in New York. I made it out the heap of whole of New York City, making some money, and got with girls, and everybody would never could approve of none of the decisions I made for myself. Especially when it comes to being a boxer, what kind of fighter I am, and why I choose to be that fighter. And I always had a person that had their hand on me, but after a while, that hand started to become more like a control stick. You know what I'm saying? And when you start making money and people around you, some of these people were the people that was telling me that I wasn't going to be nothing before I got to be who I was, by boxing, but they were telling me I wasn't going to be I ain't gonna be shit or whatever they
Mm-hmm.
be. And those same people, when I won a world title, was telling me that I knew you can do it. And those people were my family members. And, you know, to be able to, you know, make some money off of just your body and your skill alone, because a lot of people, you know, especially with college degree, they go into schools and they get a mindful kind of job and they make a lot of money. I was making a mindful job, a lot of kind of money with a physical job that was basically hard on the mind, you know what I'm saying? So through everything, I'm glad I never lost my soul and who I was as a person through all those struggles.
Peter, the one thing that I see in boxing, and I am an advocate of trying to change this mentality, are when fighters lose, like when you're undefeated, that is something very special. But when you lose, it's okay to lose because failures are a part of life. NBA teams lose every single night. NFL teams lose. I mean, very rarely do you find an NFL team that goes 16-0. But why is there such a mentality after a fighter loses one time for the media and fans to write off the fighter, even though they can be blowing through the competition? We saw it recently with Deontay Wilder. I think I could say the same about you when you came up short against Daniel Jacobs. It is something that is aggravating to me, that there is such a demand for true greatness and that goose egg that people don't realize that just because you lose, it's going to be okay. I think it's at its worst right now than it ever has been.
I mean, social media made a lot of things worse. It gave people that's like nobody's a voice to be able to say things to get under people's skin. And I think now it's just like Mayweather, since his era, he made it about the undefeated record. So it's kind of hard for people to shine into the light unless they had an undefeated record as well. You know, I went undefeated for more than 10 and a half years. You know what I'm saying? I was undefeated with my boxing career. And, you know, people put a stigma on that where it's like the O, you know, if you got that O, that makes you more valuable, and which such in business, it makes a lot of, you know, a reason why a person would be the top of the heap hole when it comes to money and everything with the O. And I think people get stuck too much on that, and I think they try to set their hero career based on Mayweather's career, and I think that people get lost in that. And I thought for me it was just for fighting what type of story I was fighting from, and that was more important. And not everybody going to agree why I became a fighter and what kind of fighter I am. And I was, you know, to the point where you got to learn that you're not able to make everybody happy, and know why you do this sport. You know, so for me, I know it's going to be a small number of people that I'm going to touch, and I'm going to point them in a perspective for their own life to get where they're trying to go. And that's the message I've been fighting from since day one, having changed that story, changed that narrative, and changed that message, and make sure that people know, you know, we all are fighters. We fight this sickness the same. You see everybody from every level quarantined in their house, especially if you're on the East Coast. And I would have to pray for anybody that's losing a relative because of, you know, the coronavirus. And I think this will show what kind of fighters that we really are. If you're willing to speak negative, even in a situation like this, then you know where your person's mind is at.
Peter, how much do you miss boxing? Because, look, I'll be honest, we have missed 2 shows when it comes to Premier Boxing Champions, and I miss the heck out of it, man. I mean, I can't wait to get back ringside, watch you guys perform and do what you guys do, because there is something special about being a prize fighter. It's one thing that you guys are boxers and fighters, but when you are fighting at this level, the level in which you perform at, and I'm fortunate to be ringside at, it is being a prize fighter. How much do you miss boxing and mixing it up in the gym and everything else, even though you've had a career that has spanned over a decade?
Well, you know, I think it's really well. I think what we have to do right now is to deal with reality. The reality would tell me that I need to be in the crib and I have to make sure I'm doing something that's going to basically help the situation. But, you know, I'm still trying to find workouts around my home, including my family, get as much family time as possible, you know, and, you know, come together with my wife, see where we stand together as a couple. And, you know, I think everything happens for the reason why it does. And, you know, I'm going to have to just go with reality right now and just, you know, I'm going to miss boxing, but with a sense of mind and saying, am I trying to be the better boxer right now and make the decision I need to be making for my own self, for my own career? And at the same time, know that there's a lot of fighters out there that's probably not able to fight and pay their bills right now. and be able to pay for their things right now because everything is shut down. They don't know when their job will start again. I think that's reality, and I have to pay for those fighters. And you see my daughter, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And how old is she, Peter?
Tell her, how old are you? Why can't you stop?
I'm 3.
Tell
You're
me
3?
Tell them the message. Tell me the message. What's the message today?
Today is the day that the Lord has made to be glad and rejoice in it.
Today is the day that the Lord has made to be glad and rejoice in it.
And my brother's 5.
Your brother's 5?
Uh-huh.
Now, Peter, this is your son who has, I believe he has an assortment of reptiles and everything else. Am I correct on that?
How many animals? He got 30-something animals. He got a toucan, he got a parrot, he got snakes, he got 2 lizards, Uromastids, and a bearded dragon. He has a ferret, 2 ferrets, and a bunny.
Wow, man,
and,
man.
And he got pigeons.
He seems like he's on his way to being a zoologist later on in his life, Peter.
Yeah, but why you got these many animals? Tell him.
Because I love them.
You love them?
Oh, wow.
You love them. What you love, babe?
I love that bunny.
You love that bunny?
Yeah.
Peter, being a father, how much has that, when it comes to your boxing, you seem a lot more at peace. You seem very relaxed. That's one thing that I take away from your journey as a father, because you went from being a prize fighter, you're still a prize fighter, but then transitioning to being a father. How much has that changed your life?
Well, it's to put things why I'm fighting in perspective, I'm teaching my kids how to be fighters in their own right, you know what I mean? I'm trying to teach my daughter, what do I teach you? Who am I?
My superhero.
I'm going to be her superhero. And I got to be my son's best friend. So that's just fight on within this home. Be my wife, make sure that she's a real partner and she's somebody I'm loving. So, more importantly, this makes me a daily fighter because I put responsibility on why I do things. So for me to step in the ring, I got to make sure that it's worth it and make sure that the time is right. And, everything will be marinated by God. You know what I mean? So I'm doing this, giving it all the claim and all the glory back to God. No matter what, you know what I'm saying? Because I can only be remembered for so long until I'm forgotten. So when I'm doing this, I'm gonna make sure I'm inspiring those who really listen to my story and what I'm fighting with to be a better fighter for their own self. And if you're just a regular person going to a regular job, I want to just tell you, don't give up, keep fighting the fight because the victory's already won.
Well, Peter, let's discuss the super middleweight division. Is this the weight class that you are going to campaign at once all of this is hopefully behind us in the very near future? 168, is that your weight? Do you want to go back to 60? Where is your mindset at, or are you not even thinking about potential weight classes right now?
Well, I got to think about that. What it is for me is like over my career, my weight has been a problem. You know what I'm saying? I've been moving up from 160, and I used to come down. When I fought Danny Jacobs, I came down from 195 pounds.
Wow, so you cut 35 pounds to make weight.
Yes.
Damn.
And then my last fight was like 206. So, those numbers get big. I guess outside of boxing, when I got to train like I'm getting ready for a fight all the time to stay in that shape. It's no immediate. So I may have to figure I may have to move up in another weight class. You know what I'm saying? Who knows? But I'm bringing my weight down to 185 pounds. And from there, I want to make decisions about what I do next.
So is it possible that you would fight at 75, or is it? Or are you more thinking more 68? So 60 is now a thing of the past.
Yes, I cannot make. I couldn't make 160. I made it happen because I was really considering, moving up in weight when I had the belt at 160 pounds because I was cutting so much weight. Mm-hmm. It was almost unhealthy. And for the education I learned about, concussions, being punch drunk, that's why I take that word very seriously. When somebody say that word, unless you got a lot of education about it, people really do suffer from, being punch drunk syndrome, you know what I'm saying? And for me, it's very important, being a father, being a leader for my family, being able to understand my kids is very important to me. So at the same time, I want to be healthy and I want to be smart about what kind of decision I make. And, if my weight has been a problem, I may have to consider it and maybe retiring.
Really? So it is. So you're saying that potential retirement then, if things don't.
If it don't get into order the way it should be, you know what I'm saying? Like if it's hard, like I said, it costs a lot of money to to make sure like you create a lifestyle. Say you create a lifestyle. Look at the ratio of people, fighters that retire broke without nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
They put a lot of money into they sell, which I do agree that you should do. But I think for the most part, I'm trying to just create the lifestyle that I can basically afford with the time that I got and the money that I have and the investments I have made in my career to make sure that's something I'm able to do as a lifestyle more so. I got to train for a fight all the time. I got to go to Brooklyn. It costs a lot of money for me to go back and forth from New Jersey to Brooklyn. I never did a camp when I'm staying in the same house with my family. I got the basement to myself. So when I'm training, I got a place where I'm not disturbed or I'm not going to disturb the family.
Okay, so you go to your basement as you're training, you know, when you're in camp and your trainer still is
Man, I
Adriano
sleep in the
Sosa,
bed
correct?
with my wife, son.
Oh, wow.
I sleep in the bed with my wife, kid. I ain't, like, for real, like, to be honest with you, I did the whole thing where you basically
Isolate yourself.
yeah. This is kind of now you can't cough or you can't like blow your nose or nothing. You can't have allergies, but I would say the hardest thing to do, you know, being a boxer is setting, doing what you want to do because everything's been worked on such a schedule and routine to it that, you know, when I really decided to like leave San Francisco to move back to, you know, where my family live, I've been away from my daughter for like almost 2 years, not living in my same house. And I was like living in apartments and, you know, not here with my family. So it put a strain on me and my wife's relationship and, you know, like I had to make decisions, and the decision had to involve me with my family and also with my, you know, with my career. So like now what I'm saying is like when I know how to be responsible for my house, I use my house as my office, and I just make the sacrifice to go to Brooklyn, which I had to hire a friend to help me and drive back and forth from New Jersey to Brooklyn every day, which is a lot of money because of the tolls or, you know, I'm not taking on, if I'm doing 3 sessions in the city or 2 sessions in the city, I have to, you know, be at my friend's house for the amount of time and then come back home and crash out and do it all over again.
Wow. Unbelievable. Well, Peter, we thank you so much for your time. And as we get ready to let you go, do you have any final comments as the rest of the world, a lot of us here, we're all self-quarantined because of the coronavirus. And, you know, again, we wish, you know, thoughts and prayers to everyone affected by all this. Final comments, Peter, as we thank you so much for your time.
Look, everybody, I wanted to say thank y'all for coming and joining me today and just being able to use me as inspiration to yourself to be able to fight this coronavirus. Stay quarantined, stay listening to your government to the point where they just telling you to do something you know you're not supposed to be doing. But I want to thank you, Ray. We've been friends for such a long time.
Man, oh man, have we ever.
I'm so proud of you. That is just a blessing to know you for these many years. And like I said, thank y'all so much for giving me that time and a shot to be able to bring encouragement to people during this time.
Hey, Peter, I'll tell you this, man. I mean,
Can I say one other thing?
Go ahead.
I'm doing I partner with a couple of churches and I'm doing workouts where I'm teaching regular people you can just use this time, this downtime to come do a workout. I partner with Hustle, Pray, and Eat, you know, and we basically, you know, doing different workouts, doing, you know, just learning how to stay with a routine, a positive routine, and work on sacrificing yourself during this time to make yourself a stronger person.
Oh, I love that. Hey, Peter, and I will have to say that, you know, I definitely want to see you from a selfish perspective, having watched your career, want to see you in that ring 1 or 2 more times, my man, because you always bring it and leave it inside that ring. And it's like you got to have a swan song, my man. We can't go out like this.
Yes,
but again, you're the only one that can ultimately decide that. But from a selfish standpoint, want to see you in that ring at least 1 or 2 more times.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate you.
Stay safe, Peter. Greatly appreciated.
God bless you.